Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this July 20th, 2023, a Thursday. Thank you for tuning in. Glad to have you guys here. You know what this is? We got a broken economy. It's actually broken. The fiat monetary system and the overindulgence of taking debt out all these years has actually broke things. I'm going to get into it right here, but what it basically amounts to is they're trying to preserve the dollar. Federal Reserve Chairman Powell is playing a game of poker. High stakes poker here to protect the dollar. And also what they want to do is they want to get interest rates as high as they can, because in the next economic downturn they want to have some tools, so to speak, tools in parentheses. So they're playing a game of poker. And what have they got in their hand? What's Powell got in his hand? He got a pair of threes. But what's the house got? They got four aces. You know, and that's what's coming at us with the economy right now. So this is a high stakes game of poker that's going on, and they're holding their hand and they're trying to keep a straight face, all to protect the dollar. It's all about protecting the strength and power in the dollar right now, and maintaining this kind of control over the system. But you know, I'm going to tell you guys what, the system is broken. It's busted. And this is why they're going to get called. They're lying. They're lying to you guys. They're making it seem right now like they're going to continue on with this tight pace of monetary tightening, and they're not going to relent. And that's them holding their hand and not letting you see in their cards. That's them bluffing. It's a total bluff. They have no want or care about what comes after. They just want to keep this bluff going as long as they can to protect the dollar and get rates as high as they can, as long as things don't crash on them. They will continue to maintain this tight monetary stance as long as the stock market continues to go up, as long as there's not some big turmoil in the system. And they started to lose control there a few months back when Silicon Valley Bank went down. But what did they do? The biggest bailout in history. It's not a bailout, but it is a bailout. So these banks like Silicon Valley Bank, you know, they had bought in treasuries and bonds and things like that as collateral back when interest rates were down at zero. Interest rates went up suddenly, so they took exorbitant losses on their capital portfolios. So the feds made good on all that. And instead of paying them probably 60 cents on the dollar that these things were actually worth now because the interest rates went up, they paid them $1 on $1, and they took any bank that wanted to come in and exchange all of this worthless paper. They give them cash. Where'd the cash come from? Well, they just create it again. And this is part of what's been maintaining the economy and keeping this game going. This game where they have to keep the poker face, but they know they're going to fold. The first thing that happens is really dangerous out there. I mean, seriously dangerous to the economy. The first major downturn, the first crash of whatever, and they're going to fold. They already know they're going to fold. But when they fold this time, all the chips are on the table. The dollar's going down, guys. When Federal Powell folds his hand of cards, the dollar's going down into a massive inflation. And it's not helping things that the BRICS are over there right now pushing a gold-backed currency. Okay, so let's take a look at something else here. We're going to take a look at the... Now, this article was produced about the real estate in Baltimore. And it was just produced on March 16th, 2023, just a few months ago in the spring. And they said, a glut of discounted office buildings in Baltimore? Question mark. A glut? Really? Really? A glut of office buildings in Baltimore? Really, is it? Question mark. Putting a big question. That's how the mainstream media works. And no, it's unlikely, experts say. No, there's no glut of discounted office buildings in Baltimore. No, experts say that's very unlikely. No, that can't be happening. Okay? Here's the article this morning. Just a couple months later. CRE panic. Commercial real estate panics. It hits Baltimore as a second office tower is dumped at a 69% discount. So the office tower in 2015 was worth $66 million. And it sold for just $24 million. Now, you know, this is going to extend losses to the valuations of whatever banks and whatever else is holding these. They have to sell at fire sale prices. It's because they need to raise capital, and if they can't raise the capital, suddenly there's an empty slot in the books of some bank, someplace. Because this thing didn't sell for $66 million, it only sold for $24 million. What about all those millions? And that's just one example of an economy that's teetering on the brink. Now in regular real estate, housing and stuff, you know, I get wind that that a lot of people are not selling right now, and the reason why is because they want to keep their mortgage, their low interest rate mortgages that they obtained during the period when we were at zero interest rate policy, and now interest rates have suddenly shot up. Doesn't make a lot, and so there's this is helping to hold back the tide on the regular real estate market, where the whole thing would just slide off there too. What we're facing really across the board is hyper bubbles. There's enormous hyper bubbles, not just one, but many hyper bubbles out there that are getting ready to burst. And so, looking at the situation, you're just saying to yourself, which one's gonna burst first? And which one is gonna make the Fed fold their hand? And what does that mean, fold their hand? It means that they're going to have to use what they've accumulated over the last few months by raising interest rates. They're going to have to use that by lowering interest rates to fight the next recession. And all this lie that they're putting out there, oh, we're going to have a soft landing. Do you know how many people right now are buying into all that crap? That's all part and parcel of them keeping a poker face. This whole talk about a soft landing. There's no soft landing coming. There's going to be a hard landing, and then they're going to have to use whatever tools they have left at the price of the dollar. But right now, for the time being, they are keeping things and holding things together as far as the dollar is concerned. Do you guys really believe the Fed? Do you believe their bluff that they're doing right now? Where they're bluffing all you guys into thinking the dollar's strong and the dollar's going to last 20, 30 more years, and it's the world reserve currency and it can't be dismounted and all this kind of stuff. All this baloney they're feeding you. And that's what it is. It's baloney. What article was we looking at here? So they're talking about here that the Fed's last rate hike could be coming in July on Reuters here. They're going to keep punching these little rate hikes in there, aren't they? Right now, they're planning. It says the U.S. Federal Reserve will raise its benchmark overnight interest rate by 25 basis points to the 5.25 range, 5.25 to 5.5 range on July 26th, according to 106 economists polled by Reuters, with the majority still saying that this will be the last increase in the current tightening cycle. Yeah, well, why are they saying it's going to be the last increase? Because they're sensing it, just like I'm sensing it. That's just after this last hike, that something's going to big's going to break. Because interest rates are very sensitive. This is the time it's going to break. And then you watch how quick. It's going to be an overnight thing. You're not going to have a chance. Because it's going to all happen so fast. Something's going to break. Something's going to break big. The Fed's going to come into the rescue, and the next day, monetary policy is going to be all completely 180-degree turn from where it is right now. And you're going to see that the Fed's just basically folded their hand. Overnight, they folded their hand. You saw how quick they reacted to the Silicon Valley Bank crisis. It's called emergency meetings. They draw everybody in, even if it's the middle of the night. They sit them around the round table, and they all discuss what they're going to do in this crisis situation. And the next day, they got a solution. And the solution's always the same thing. If a hammer's the only tool you have, everything looks like a nail. And their hammer's the biggest, best hammer. It's a golden hammer. It's the golden hammer of Thor. It's to create more monetary units to solve all of our problems in the world. And it's just amazing that they've been able to keep this game going since 1971 until now. But now it's broken, and they're still being able to drag it out and kick the can down the road because the tool that they have is such a powerful tool. But eventually, it's going to wreck. And there's a train wreck coming pretty darn soon here, guys. A real train wreck, and how it's going to impact every one of us is going to be absolutely astounding. But it's also going to impact the price of gold and silver and cryptos. But gold, I've been saying this to you guys for the longest time, and I'm going to repeat it. Gold and silver is going to zoom out the door first. They're going to disappear. All the physical metals are going to disappear. But this is going to open the door for crypto. If we lived in a world that no matter how much money they spent, they could always buy silver, real physical silver, no matter how much was spent on it, no matter how much out of control the system got and panic buying by billionaires, there would always be physical silver out there. If we lived in that kind of a world, then their first choice would be precious metals. All of these investors, their first choice. But you know what's going to happen, don't you? You're not going to be able to obtain physical silver. And what does that mean for the price? That means the price is going to be sitting on top of the moon, but you're not going to be able to obtain it. Now, I'm not going to say you're not going to be able to obtain it for any price. These rich people, they're going to scout for it. And they might do, goodness knows, they might scout for people who are willing to sell and pay them any price to get it. But at that time, the door is going to be basically shut on the precious metals, because once you hit the point where you're not able to obtain any, you're not able to buy it, in other words, unless you're willing to go off the hook on what you're willing to pay, when you hit that point, then that opens the door for cryptos. And the reason why is because there's still going to be oodles and oodles of all this freshly printed money. It's not even going to have the ink dried on it out there chasing after something to try to get out of the fiat system, because the fiat system's going to be crashing and burning. And what's left over, trillions of dollars that's left over, is gonna chase after any way out. All the escape doors this is and I tried to explain this to you guys. This is a stadium packed with people, and somebody's gonna yell fire at some point, And they're all going to realize at the same time that the fiat system is collapsing and that the value of the purchasing power of all the fiat currencies is going down the toilet hole. And there's only 3 exit doors: gold, silver, and cryptos. So they're going to run for the best first. The best is gold and silver. But there's so much money chasing after it, it's just going to evaporate into thin air, gone. Poof. Just like when you drop a bit of water on a red hot wood stove. Have you ever spilled a couple drops of water on a red hot wood stove? How long does it last? It goes psst, gone. That's the way with the gold and silver. It's going to go psst, gone. And of course, the price will be to the moon. But then they're going to go after something. They're going to have to get something to get out of the dollar because the dollar's losing value. It's going to be desperation to try to get out at a certain point. People, they hit this certain point where we haven't seen this yet. The inflation that we've seen so far is like push inflation. It's being pushed by the people who sell the products and stuff are pushing the inflation. And it's not so much in demand and people needing this stuff, tremendous need. There was a little bit during COVID and things like toilet paper and stuff like that. But people are not got to the point yet where they're saying to themselves, hey, I'm not keeping my money in the bank anymore. They haven't got to that point yet where they're saying, I'm not keeping my money in the bank anymore because it's losing value so fast. I got to get out and spend it as fast as I can. That hasn't happened yet. That's coming. That's in our future. And that's what's really going to push the price of all of these assets that are outside, because people aren't stupid. They say, well, I don't want to lose 50% of my money in the next 2 months because of inflation. I got to get into something. That hasn't hit yet. People are, and what the Fed's doing right now with this poker game that they're playing is keeping people invested in the dollar. By not showing their hand. And when I say showing their hand is I just know what they're going to do. They're going to fold at a certain point and they're going to go back to money printing again. Then they've shown their hand and it's over at that point, guys. And that's when we're going to see this mad rush into something of real and tangible that they can get a hold of. And when they can't get that any longer, they're going to go after the next best thing, which is Bitcoin. But there'll still be oodles of money because you know how much money they've created in this system? And they're going to continue to create to try to keep the system going? It's on an exponential. They have to keep making more and more and more all the time to pay off the previous debts that they've taken out. The United States right now, on their debt outstanding, the interest rate payments that they're paying used to run the whole country and more. They could operate Vietnam. They could have a Vietnam War, and they could have run the entire country on what right now they owe on the interest. This is going to continue getting worse. And the dollar's going to go down the toilet in the end. And it's going to go faster and faster because that's how exponentials work. It's just right now by doing this whole thing, this whole ruse, and keeping their Fed chair pile, keeping a poker face, and not letting anybody see what his hand is, the hand he's holding, that it's a crap hand, and we already got a broken system. Here it comes, ladies and gentlemen. You need to be in something that's out of dollar-denominated assets or you're going to get burnt. And I don't care if you've got $5 million saved away right now. $5 million might only buy an apple when they're done with you. Get it off into something while you got the chance. While it can still buy something, get it off into something that's going to go in the opposite direction when the hyperinflation hits. And you haven't got a long time, because when this monkey folds his hand and shows what he's got, and it's only a couple threes, 3 of diamonds and 3 of spades or whatever, and that's it. That's all he had, and everybody thought he had 4 aces. What do you think's going to happen? Anyway, let's take a look at the price of stuff today. $24.82 for silver. It's down 29 cents. What a great time to buy. Look, they're even still beating the price down for you guys. Aren't they sweet? And they're going to do this as long as they can. As long as Chairman Powell is holding those hands, holding his hand back and keeping a straight face. And it must be hard for these guys to keep a straight face. They're going to be able to keep manipulating these prices down. There's only one other factor. If they run out of silver, they're not going to be able to do it either any longer. But evidently they haven't completely run out yet. So they're still able to smash the price a little bit. And they're going to keep right on this with this as long as they damn well can. And that's why I say this rally in gold and silver is a little bit premature yet. Because they haven't shown their hand yet. They haven't shown that they got nothing. Nothing for cards. Cryptocurrency today. Oh, we forgot to do gold. Where's our gold here? 1967. It's down $8.80. Now, cryptocurrency today. We're seeing Bitcoin boosted back up above It's boosted back up above 30,000. Well, it was for a little while. Now it's dropped down below again. 29,770. But this morning it was up above 30,000 again. Ethereum is at 1890. Boy, look at XRP. It was over 80 cents. I think it made it to 82 cents. Now it's at 78.9. So 79 cents for an XRP. Wow, XRP's done good lately. Dow Jones Industrial Average. It's up 262 points at 35,323 for the Dow Jones. Oil is up 72 cents at 76.07 today. Now, bonds and rates. We're seeing quite a large jump in the yields today. For the 10-year, it's 10 basis points up at 3.84, is it? Looks like. And the U.S. 30 years at 3.9. It's up 8.2 basis points. Now the dollar index is at 100.80 and it's climbing today. See, they're keeping this dollar strong by holding this, by bluffing. It's basically all a bluff. It's basically all a lie. And it's all about this. It's all about support for the dollar. The whole manipulation scheme, racket, that they've been pulling to manipulate the precious metals is all about supporting the dollar. It's all about supporting it until they can't support it any longer, until it's impossible for them, and then they got to let her go. It's either let her go, it's either going to let the dollar go, or let the economy crash to the point where it's going to look like a Mad Max world, and they lose power in the end. And I mean quite literally, because the power grid will go down. It's either that or let the dollar go. And that's the big bluff. They can't let the system collapse. Entirely collapse, because the system is so over-leveraged at this point that if it deleverages completely, it will be like what happened to the World Trade Center's towers. That's what would happen to the system. It would be the same as that. A system would be completely flattened. Nothing left of it. It's so over-leveraged. Everybody would go bankrupt. So they have to support it. So this is all a bluff. This is all a bluff because they're moving in a direction that would bring the system down. But they're only going to go so far. They're not going to let... And this is a very dangerous game too, guys, because if it gets out of their control, if it deflates and gets out of control and they can't get it under control fast enough, it could all collapse anyway. You know, when a building's collapsing, it can gain momentum on its way down. What they're trying to do is they're trying to do a controlled demolition, just enough to keep this dollar strong and let it go at a certain point when it gets too dangerous for them. And, this is the reason why. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe. We'll catch you guys in the next episode. Have a great afternoon. Bye bye.